Welcome to One Voice Live, where we talk about one voice, what it is, and how it fits into the world of singing. I'm your host, Alex Zeto, and I'm joined today by Gabe Bernal.
Hello!
My dear friend.
Well.
So, a few facts about Gabe. Gabe is a Gemini from San Antonio, Texas. Mm-hmm. When he's not playing pretend and dress up, he's talking women into buying stretchy yoga pants at Lululemon. He has a weird obsession with Cheer on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet. And he has been known to bump his head walking through many a doorway because he is very, very tall. Please welcome Gabe.
Hello, everybody.
Yay.
Happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. I really am.
Prove it.
Okay. So we're going to talk to Gabe today about his singing journey. So we always start off by asking, where did you start? How did you start singing?
I started because my grandmother's a pianist,
mm-hmm.
and she'd always play for weddings, and she played at the cathedral in San Antonio, Texas. And randomly, I should go back, I would watch Sound of Music a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And classic. I didn't realize I'd memorized the whole show and learned all the songs. But then one Sunday, she was practicing for a very dramatic bride that I think wanted to climb every mountain in her wedding.
Oh, no.
Something casual and simple for the children. And I walked down the stairs like the dramatic little 4-year-old I was and sang along. And from then on, I was standing by her piano and always singing.
That's amazing. And you sang in church a lot too, right?
A lot, every Sunday.
Oh, that's great.
I know, which is wonderful, but I always had to go to church earlier than everyone to practice. And when I was little, I was like, I want to sleep! But I had to get up and be like, oh, man!
So, what was your singing like as a kid?
Very loud. Because my grandmother trained classically, I had a classical voice teacher, so I was always singing opera. Mm-hmm. So it was either like legit soprano or let's see how high I can belt church songs.
Yeah,
so
because
like
you literally were a soprano one, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
Like my highest note was an F sharp above high C, and that was like what I was singing a lot. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So that's female whistle.
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah,
so
now
cool.
we know that. Yeah. And that's how I was like, yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool. What limitations, if any, were put on you as a singer growing up?
Limitations. I guess vocal part. I was right away told I was a soprano, so I never really investigated my lower range.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the flip side of that, there wasn't much material for boys that age. Or if, like, I remember auditioned for Secret Garden for Colin, and he's supposed to be this, like, sick little boy.
Oh, God.
And I'm in there just like, I've been fed. I'm doing well. And so, like, vocally, I was having a great time. But, like, story-wise, didn't make any sense.
Yeah. Do you remember what you sang?
I think I just sang from the show.
Oh, yeah.
But it was, like, me, one other boy soprano, and, like, 3 women.
Oh my gosh.
And like they were all very petite, and I was like, nah.
Oh, that's so funny.
I know.
I love that. Did you book?
No.
You didn't?
I played another role in the show, which was a high tenor. So it's like, great.
Oh, great.
This is like middle of my range. They don't know that.
And they never will.
They never will.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward to high school. What was singing like for you then?
Freshman, sophomore year, my voice hadn't matured, and so I was still singing female songs for the most part. And like, thank God to Grandma, she would hand write and like change the keys for me.
Oh my gosh.
Because she did it in her head, but for the pianist at school, that's just a lot of work for them to do. So she would buy staff paper and write it all out because she has beautiful handwriting. And so she would, transpose everything. And so I'd have my teachers, and they were all so shook all the time. They're like, why do you have it like this? That's amazing. It's like, y'all don't? I didn't realize this was such a blessing.
That's so incredible.
Yeah,
and now we know, like, having to, like, go to auditions and, like,
oh my gosh,
take the train to FedEx. Like,
yeah, and this is before that I knew about music notes or any of the .coms that do that for us. So it was that, and then junior year, my voice matured, and that's when I started to sing more tenor material. But it went from singing, like, boy soprano to singing like really heavy in middle coordination. Like, I'm a tenor and I'm gonna keep it because there's a lot of ego there, and I just wanted to make sure that I was still a good singer.
Yeah, because what I find so interesting about your story, in contrast to Junior and Phillips that we've listened to the past few weeks, is that their stories have so much to do with not having access to certain coordinations and not having range or ability and being told that they can't do it. And you were kind of this angel of music that everyone was like, oh, you're so perfect, and like you were born to sing, like God has blessed you with this gift thing.
Totally.
Which is just so interesting to me. But so what pushback did you have, if any?
Pushback, I guess, from other male singers. Just that I was singing with females, and so like that was kind of a pushback. Like socially speaking. Socially, yeah. It wasn't great. And also they're just like, I couldn't sing the songs that other males were singing. And I'm like, why am I? What's going on? And then when my voice dropped, everyone was like so excited that I was hitting puberty, because they're like, finally he's going to see how we all feel. All the like 14-year-olds. And I was like, oh, okay. My voice did a gradual descend, because my voice teacher at the time had me still singing soprano material, and so it all just like slowly moved down. And I didn't really at that point, because a lot of male singers, a lot of material doesn't really ask us to look into lightweight and middle coordination. So I just knew I had like kind of a midweight, but mostly heavy in chest and middle coordinations, and that's all I needed really in high school. Yeah.
And I just think it's so stupid that your puberty experience was so smooth.
I know.
Like so weird. Smooth.
Yeah.
And you didn't start to worry about your voice until like, I think you said age 17?
We were doing Pirates of Penzance, and it was a tenor role. And I remember in rehearsals, I was like, oh, finally. I went to Performing Arts High School, and they were doing the operetta. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like what I grew up singing. This is going to be so great. And then I went to touch the aria, Oh, Is There Not One Maiden Breast? And at the very end, there's a B flat. I was like, this is hard for me? What is going on? Like, who can you trust? Yeah, so like in rehearsals, there'd be moments where I didn't realize that at the time, but after a full school day, I'm asked to sing and like do this very hard material at age 16 or 17. And I just was like full, like going into it and like power it. That's the way it's going to come out.
Yeah.
And that was I remember opening night was so good. All the adrenaline, I had rested, taken very serious care of myself. And then I had to go to school the next morning, and I was talking to everyone. Everyone was excited about the show. I felt so confident. I was like, I've done it once, I'm fine. What I didn't realize I was doing is I was fatiguing myself and talking and like being very confident. So I went up there and I was like, like so many things happened. I was like, oh my God, I'm not perfect.
And like time stops when you're there, when like you're cracking. It can be like a
my goodness.
Snap of a second.
And you know, I was like, I'm gonna fix it on the note. And so I was yodeling, tried to fix it, vibratoed, ended it, and I was like, wow, I held it out longer than ever before.
Like no one noticed.
No one noticed. And then like that's towards the top of the show. And so I had to go through the rest of the show being like, this whole audience is now leaving with that perception of what I do and who I am. And at that point, that was like a lot of my self-worth was in my voice.
Yeah.
So that shook me to the core. And going to people at the stage door afterwards, just like, I was looking in the eyes like, tell me you saw it. Tell me you heard it. and everyone was like gently lying to me. Just like, oh my God, no, it was so good.
Yeah.
I was like, you. Yeah.
Which I'm sure it was great, like apart from
Sure. There were alumni there, and they were like, no one cares. Yeah. They had a lot of them have worked professionally, and they're like, we've all cracked. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah. And I was like, but they all think of me differently. I'm like, they don't think of you.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
At all.
Literally.
No, but for like little Gabe, who had never, not even in puberty, like having that moment to, for the first time at age 17, like have an onstage moment where you crack, like that's
my gosh,
earth-shattering.
Literally, one of my first, I feel like first time vocal cracking was in front of an audience.
Oh,
because I puberty, I was like, that's just, it wasn't a thing. And I know certain female vocalists that like that's kind of their story, but like their voice matured, but they were still asked to work out the same muscles at 13 or 14, at the same at 16, 17, and I was being asked to do completely different things.
Totally.
So it was wonderful. Now that I look at it, because now I'm like, if like I still don't want to mess up in front of an audience, but I it's not nearly as precious as it once was.
Totally. I mean, we all have to have that moment.
Correct. I think, was it Amy Schumer talked about? She's like, it's so lovely that all of my fears have come true with comedy. Like almost every single thing I worried about has come true on stage. So now I know anything is possible. So they've kind of like that like the unknown.
Yeah.
Everything checked.
Oh my God, I have to tell a story. I've
Please
never heard her
don't.
say that. The game.
Sorry, the
That's so good. How dare you? You can.
Well.
So, when I was in Hedwig in the Ingrianch, that role was so vocally demanding on me, and I suffer with stage fright really, really badly. And there's this one moment where I have to do a Whitney Houston impression, essentially, and I have to sing, and I will always love you, completely a cappella out of nowhere after just like a note on a guitar. And I remember every night, I'm supposed to be like listening and engaged, and I'm just like thinking about this moment.
Totally.
And every night I've like nailed it. People are like after the show coming up to me talking about this one moment. And I'm just like,
oh no, that makes it worse.
It does. My biggest fear is screwing up that part. One night I go for it and I do and it comes out, and then I immediately come back in. It's just like a tiny hiccup.
Glitch, yeah.
The entire band is like looks at me, and I just like keep singing it. And I remember like as I'm literally singing this show, I'm thinking to myself like, oh, thank God. Thank God I just messed up.
Yeah.
Because now I don't have this like record to hold on to.
You're like hoping to make it to closing without any kind of error. You're like, great, that happened, and I'm still singing.
Oh, and
there's still people looking at me.
And I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I'm fine. And like
deep.
the show has not stopped.
Yeah.
And everything, and I'm alive.
It's
okay,
like,
great.
And it's like kind of not about you.
Yeah, truly. Like all of these things.
Yeah.
And it was in that moment I was like, oh, it really is a blessing.
That's so lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway. And another time, I just like made it about me.
I just like slowly leave.
Just like sneak back.
Yeah.
Okay, so One Voice enters the scene. Initial reaction.
I was really, really excited because I had grown up with a voice teacher, I think, since the age of 10 with an opera teacher.
Oh my goodness.
And so I didn't realize that like that was a style I was learning, and that was the only thing I knew about voice. And then singing in church, I could kind of lean towards contemporary because certain sounds are like a full opera the whole time is like kind of jolting for a Catholic congregation. So I learned stuff like that. But when Maresca came to school, I arrived and he was doing a masterclass for the program. I was so excited because like there are a bunch of things that I need to work on here at school, and I'd gone there because the professors were like, this is a place for you to fail and mess up and figure it out. I was like, here's the thing that has made me special for a long time, that I'm like most confident but also like insecure in. Please tell me, validate me, please. And he had information for me. I was like, oh my gosh. And he could physically like tell me what was happening in my throat. It was no longer metaphors, which felt lovely.
Yeah.
Because I would leave voice lessons not really sure what just happened. I just know that I had made a sound that was good for the listener, and maybe less effort inside, but not really sure how I got there. So I was very, very excited. I knew it was completely different, which I don't know, it was an opportunity for me to learn something new about my voice, because I knew I wasn't the vocalist of my dreams yet.
I love that.
And still not, but
yeah. And again, like your thing wasn't about range, it was about reaching this expectation you had of what singing could feel and sound like.
Correct.
So where did you guys start on that journey?
Oh my gosh, I did a summer program, performing arts project, and my first voice lesson with him, I was singing and just like kind of like with a new teacher with voice, there's a certain element of performance.
Sure.
That you want to like let
Pick
them
me, choose me, love me.
Correct. Jeez, and it was exhausting. And he was so lovely. Musk was so lovely that he was like, "Great, do you mind just like singing the alphabet for me, like A, B, C, D?" I was like, A, B, C, D. And he was like, all right.
Like,
literally. So we're doing that, and then Summer Over the Rainbow, and I started to do like my imitation of Josh Groban, basically. And he was like, can you just say the lyrics? I started to say them, and he's like, now add pitch to them. And then I started to hear my voice on those notes, just how I'm speaking right now. And I just started, because there was a lot of growth I was experiencing sophomore year of self-discovery of who I am and my point of view on the world. Because I just, for so long, I was like very shielded and guarded, like a very loving home, but I just didn't want to disappoint anyone. And so I kind of kept anything that was eccentric about me quiet. And voice was the one thing that people validated and loved. And that was my like, even in a church where I was like nervous that I may be different than what this congregation would support or love, that was one thing that they all agreed that I was just like, I was like, great, I have that. So that I'd gone, investigated those demons basically, and didn't realize that I still had my voice, the one thing that was shielding me and my protection. And so that everything inside had been, had come out and had been discussed. And so when he did that and I heard my authentic speaking voice singing, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not like pretty anymore. Oh no. Oh no, what if that's all a lie? And he's like, no. He's like, no. That's a style. We want to make sure that what you were doing was a choice. It's a style that you can still do. But we need to know what neutral is so that we can put on those clothes, so to speak. So like how I was singing was I was wearing a tuxedo all the time. And like there are different venues for that. And I still like to make those sounds.
Totally.
And that's like a lot of times when I sing a song, and those are the shapes I like to make.
Yeah.
But knowing that that's a choice. Yeah. So that was my introduction to him.
And to leave room for other choices.
Correct. I was like, oh my gosh, can I like get by singing like singer-songwriter stuff and pop things? Just because I had like with vibrato and certain like vocal track was larger. I was like, oh no, oh my God. Because with my other opera friends, they would be speaking like this to me all the time. And I was like, I didn't do that. I speak like this. So like, oh my God, I have a neutral speaking voice. I need to bring that to my singing.
Totally.
And so that was like jolting, but so necessary and at perfect time in my life because I'd already figured out why I was doing that.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge part for so many people that we don't touch on in voice lessons is the psychological heart part of it. That like this is so much a part of me, and it feels when you're learning how to ride a bike. I mean, we use all these metaphors for like the things we learn and can get better at, but when you're learning how to ride a bike, if you fall, like, yeah, it's embarrassing, you scrape your knee, but it doesn't feel like
something about your identity.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like this punch in the gut, like when you can't get something the way you want with your singing.
Sure.
And I think we have to address the whole thing, the whole person,
100%,
as well as giving them the tools to
because with singing before, it was about singing pretty, and I still love singing in church just because it's less about me as the person, and it can come through. I can literally hide in like behind like a choir with a mic, and people are just listening to me. And if I'm emotionally available, it can come through in the sound. And so I had done that, but a certain part of that was modified, and I wasn't actually like. I was so determined to be pretty and sound pretty that I hadn't actually shared my point of view really, and that I hadn't realized that that I in my ways with people, both speaking and singing, I was taking care of them, and I hadn't really just like been oh my gosh. This is what singing.
This is like how we talk when we hang out. It's just like, I'm like, when
totally.
I was 4.
In the second grade. Like literally.
Yeah. I think I had a similar thing with I always identified as a singer, and coming in and trying to like tell a story through song, with them being like, sing less, and just like speaking the words, and me just being like, but is that enough?
Yeah.
And then being like, yeah, like to tell a story. And now it's like, those are the artists that I totally gravitate towards.
100%. I'm like thinking about the vocalists I love. It's the ones that are like beautifully complicated and like reveal that.
Yep.
And I honestly just took other teachers, other like dance teachers and acting teachers to be like, oh no, you're an actor. Oh, you're a dancer. To like then those parts of myself, an actor, is just like approving, telling me that my instincts are correct, and to keep going in that direction. And because I had like stopped modifying my thoughts on my own opinions and how I sound, if it's effeminate, whatever, it started to come out in my singing. I was like, oh my gosh, all of these beautiful ballads that I like gravitated towards now became more of like funny, upbeat things. So that's who I am. Yeah. And like I love singing pretty songs, but I'm more complicated than that.
Yeah, you're multifaceted, as we all are. I love that. Talk about what One Voice has helped you build in your voice, like some of the improvements you've seen.
I would say I keep looking at the different coordinations and seeing them out, and then vocal weights. I hadn't realized that my chest voice was like pretty much there and developed, but my middle coordination, my head coordination, I only had really heavy to midweight, and so it clarified.
Middle coordination, head coordination, you only had mid to heavyweight.
Correct. Yes.
Cool.
So I hadn't because like male songs, like older men, a lot of the stories that are written they're like, I'm coming to save you, or I'm gonna get her, I got her,
Mm-hmm.
or like fall in love with me. And a lot of that is big power singing.
Right.
Like, except for what, Bring Him Home, and that it's a 56-year-old man, like, bring him home. And like, no one was really asking my 18-year-old self to sing like that.
Right.
And so I hadn't worked on that. And so like, once the opportunity for me to sing other vocal styles came up, I realized that I hadn't investigated my lightweight at all.
Yeah.
I didn't have a falsetto. So I was like, oh no.
Do you know when you stopped? Because as a kid, you were a freaking soprano 1.
Uh-huh.
When did you start to move away from that, do you think?
Puberty. It just kind of naturally did it. So I started to move down. And my voice teacher at the time had me singing voice soprano material or soprano material, like dramatic. I thought I was Renee Fleming. I think I am.
You weren't?
like I have a beautiful blowout.
You look up really Renee.
Like Renee Fleming. Oh, thank you so much. But my voice naturally started to move down. I didn't have a big kerchunk, but I lost lightweight, and I wasn't really asked to exercise that part of my voice. And it was the whole like vocal part thing of like, you're a tenor. And for some reason, a lot of bass or baritone material, some of them have like a like a sound within a song, while tenors are like, you're expected to be able to scream the whole thing.
Yeah, totally.
And so that was like, I hadn't realized I was getting by on just one vocal weight, really.
Very cool, because now your lightweight's like slamming.
Yeah, right? I try. But it definitely started with me like not being able to form words in a lightweight at all. And like, and that, and then also rumble was developed because she said earlier, I'm tall, I'm 6'6", and so when people, it's kind of like,
it's true, he is.
What if I was a liar this whole time?
You're actually like 5'4", you're on like
I'm like, please lie for me. There's a whole thing with performing of like who you are and how people will perceive you for storytelling. When I'm 6'6" and I walk into an audition room or I'm on stage, there's a certain story that the audience is perceiving I'm gonna tell. And a lot of that is like, okay, you're large. I want to hear a large sound. So huge vocal track and a lot of times lower. And so I'm singing a lot of like my auditions week to week go from like singing Kiss Me Kate, like huge bass stuff, to screaming like rock tenor.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't know I was capable of all of that. But thankfully our teachers knew, Mariska and Caitlin knew that would be asked of me. And so I had like worked on them in college. Like the roles I did were bass stuff. I don't think I would have ever been able to sing them prior to Mariska at all.
Oh, that's so cool. Because you didn't have access to rumble until college.
Correct. I don't think so. Yeah.
Wow.
Or if I did, it was really light.
And now you're talking it. He's literally talking it. He goes, and it was really light. And he comes down to rumble.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Thank you so much.
I feel like you're laughing at me.
Well.
I feel attacked. Yeah. Okay. So you kind of just touched on it, but the question is, how has One Voice come to play in your professional life?
Yeah, it's that we're asked to do a lot of things, which females get asked that all the time. Like you were singing legit stuff. I could have danced all night, and then they're like, please sing something that's the 11 o'clock number for Elphaba or Elsa. Right. And that is like a normal thing. While men, it's not necessarily the case. We're asked to pretty much sing in the like middle coordination is always used right now, and head coordination. A lot of pop rock tenors, like that is the field right now. But because of the way I look, 6'6", and a baby face, week to week, I'm a completely different singer. Yeah. And like day to day, and sometimes in the same audition room, which is really hard. And I'm going in and like my larynx is lower and vocal track is really big. And they're like, do you have anything in your breath that's a little higher? And I'm like, yeah, one moment. Like trying to bring her up. Yeah. I'm like, give me a second. Yeah. It's just like a completely different person. Yeah. And sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's a little thicker than before. But yeah, I don't think I would have had that option. I think I would have thought, I mean, who knows? But singing wise, I think I would have had that one like legit leaning sound at the like, just basically on the staff and a little bit above it. That would have been, that's just how I sing. That role's not meant for me. Yeah. While now, when I get an audition, I'm like, well, okay, I have a week. I start building that in now. It's gonna be wobbly most likely in like day in, day out. Like if it's on Friday, Monday it's like, oh help. Tuesday, she's fatigued. Wednesday, better. I can probably do it. Thursday, doing it again. But knowing that it's literally just muscles and that it's like lifting a dumbbell and then going into auditions and whatever, the universe or adrenaline, knowing that I've done that work, being able to do that
Mm-hmm.
when a week before I was completely failing in my room.
Yeah.
That happens all the time.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's
it's
so
literally
cool.
just because I know, I'm like, nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not one vocal part.
And you can look and you can be like, okay, I know where my voice is today. I know what's built today.
Yeah.
I know by these notes and the style what's required of me weight-wise, coordination-wise.
Yeah.
And I have the tools to build this in a week.
Yeah.
Stupid.
It feels really cool.
Yeah.
I was in an audition. I just got really excited. I I know. It slapped me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in an audition for Hunchback last year, probably in like October.
Oh, so good for you.
It was so fun, but it was a dance call first because they were also doing Guys and Dolls, and then I went to the room for Hunchback. I don't remember what I sang. They're like, "What vocal part do you typically like to sing?" Because I think timbre-wise, when I'm singing just something that I like to sing, I sound baritone-ish. And like, what do you like to sing? And I was like, oh, well, what do y'all need? Because I was like trying to present that like I've tried everything, but like what do y'all need? And they're like, well, when you go to sing, when you're like looking at a staff of music and SATB, like what do you want to sing? And I'm like, the melody. I was trying to be fun. I was like, the melody, honey.
Make him laugh.
Yeah. I was like, I guess baritone tenor 2 is for a timbre, but if you need a tenor 1 or a bass, whichever you like. So I sang bass, and then they started to vocalize me, and I was going above the staff and doing that. And he's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, one voice. I was so happy.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, it felt so good. They were like, how do you... It felt... to them, it was a phenomenon. But I was like, it's not at all.
Yeah, you built it.
And like so many of us have, and it's literally just identifying what it is. And a lot of my friends that aren't with One Voice could do that. They just don't know. Yeah. A lot of times they've only touched a certain part of the piano because they told that that's where they live, or they expand it and like go for 3 octaves, 4 octaves.
Right. But the thing that is, it's not special that you can do that. But the thing that is special is that you put in the work and you did the ugly work that you have to do in order to achieve what now looks like God-given natural ability.
I was like, honey, you should have seen me in college just warbling all over the place. Like a lot of intention there, but my gosh. Help. Yeah.
And that's the cool part.
Very cool.
Like that's the thing that makes me go, oh, that's something to really be proud of.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh, I was born with it.
Yeah.
Like, no, I built this.
Yeah. And when you hear an insane singer, and you're just like, oh my goodness, how? And you're like, how did we know how? That's so... It's more of just like when you see someone who's like really, really ripped and it worked out really hard, you're like, amazing job that you've put in that much work to work on your facility like that, because we can physically see it.
And you've been so uncomfortable. Like, those
the
workouts,
amount of effort you've put in.
Yeah.
And for me, growing up singing classical music, I hadn't allowed myself to work out vocally in that way. I was working out pretty. Right. And so my voice, this was very sensitive. I didn't really push it to extremes. I was like, as soon as I felt any kind of discomfort, it was bad. It was discomfort. That's a sign. Don't do it. You can hurt your voice permanently. And because I would see my friends that like could just like immediately do very difficult material without any kind of prep. I'm like, all right, that's just who they are. Not at all. I hadn't really experienced sounding ugly. Right. Or I mean, I'm not every sound I was making was pretty, but like the intention was to always be pretty. Right. And so realizing in college that like, oh, all of the people that I admire vocally or in sports or anything, at one point were doing this one task and sucking at it. So I have to suck at it. Yep. It's no different. I can't be mediocre and stay there. I have to like be really bad in the direction of growth. Ugh. She's disgusting.
I'm grossed out. That's so cool. That's so cool.
It was really cool.
What are you working on now vocally? Do you mind sharing with us?
What am I working on now vocally?
Or if like, is there something specific, or is it just kind of like whatever comes in?
Right now, it's been a lot of middle to head coordination, making sure I'm not bringing anything up, and then different vocal weights within that. So again, still shy about hurting myself. Like when Brendan Urie came out doing that cover, Into the Unknown, I was like, okay, I can hit those notes, but I don't want to hear myself sing that right now. Like hearing myself, I'm like, that is not presentable. And like it's not awful, but I'm like, how do I? It's really cool to hear him. I'm like, he just like vocally works out there all the time. Yeah. And so it's much easier. So I've been doing that just because I like want to see what I can do. It's exciting when you
Yeah.
realize that like what once was very difficult and just like that's not in my cards, I can do that now. What else can I do?
Yeah,
kind of thing.
totally.
So that, and then because it's technically kind of audition season for summer stock and different contracts, week to week, whatever challenges I'm faced with. Like yesterday it was more golden age sounding, and last week it was more pop rock, and that means totally different things from like Elvis Presley to Sarah Bareilles style. So it's literally day to day. But when it's not audition season, just making sure I work out my voice. Because a lot of times, and this is like with my same person of like when I was developing my voice, I don't want to upset anybody. And so a lot of times when I have nothing to work on, I'm not exercising this. And so it's out of shape. And when I go back to sing, say all the roommates are out of the apartment, and I'm in the shower, it's fatiguing. It's exhausting. It doesn't sound great. And it's defeating because you're just like, man, come on, champ.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a soccer dad. I'm like, come on, sport, you got it.
Hustle, man.
Yeah, literally. And it's just like I have to remind myself to make noise a lot.
Oh, so when you're saying not upset anyone, you're talking about making noise with your roommates around.
Yeah, or just anyone. And then of course we're in New York City, so there's so many noises happening all the time. It's not that deep. And like even on the train platform, now that I've been here 4 years, there are times where I'm just like,
train's going by.
Fully, yeah. Well, when I first moved here, being from Texas, I was like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, we're all crazy.
Like literally, if someone was screaming on the subway platform, I would be like,
literally, are they okay? Are they hurting themselves or anybody else? No? Great.
Yeah.
You're like there's a new album
anything.
out.
Yeah. Nothing means anything here.
Literally.
It's crazy. But no, I struggle with that too. I mean, because like I have people above me. I have neighbors that way. I have neighbors that way. There's another building right there. And I'm just waiting for the day that I'm just like, yeah! And someone's like, shut up! And I'm like, no.
Like, you don't get it.
Because, like, it's not just that we're practicing singing. It's that we're building stuff. And we're in that ugly phase so often where we sound just like dying cats.
And I don't want to go to a studio and pay to do that workout.
God, no.
I'm like, if I can do it here. So sometimes I'm like,
yeah, and this is where like belt box. I actually sang into a LaCroix the other day. We're not.
Are you plugging?
Literally plugging into
like,
LaCroix. But honestly, it was even easier than a water bottle because Michael recommends a water bottle. LaCroix, try it.
Oh, I've never done that.
I know, or like canned,
a can,
anything. Yeah,
specifically a LaCroix, which one's held a seltzer. Something about the bubbles and the mood it puts me in. I love drinking something that I'm like, is this? No, it's not Sprite.
No, I love it. I do love LaCroix, but we're not sponsored yet by LaCroix. I'm working on it. That's great. What advice do you have for One Voicers?
What advice? Keep asking questions. Stay inquisitive. Know that like where you are as a singer right now is not your best. There is still an opportunity for growth. And with One Voice, it's just laying out your instrument. And it can go from the bottom to the top of the piano. And so there's always something to work on, but at least you have tools to approach it.
Yeah.
And so once you have your One Voice community, like I can come to you, even before you were a voice teacher. Like, how does this sound? What are you hearing? What is like some things you could offer me? And vice versa. And then to my other roommates, because we all have the same language.
Yes.
It's so lovely. They're like, yeah, it sounds like you could go vocally lighter and make it easier, but you're splatting a little on the vowel you're making. So yeah, knowing that you have these tools, keep investigating, because there's always something to learn. And like the best singers out there could still be better next year or the year after. And like Pavarotti, he said he had a voice teacher he had a voice lesson every week. And that was the opera singer at the top of the field. Yeah. That's what it takes, is putting in the work. And I, for a long time, kind of resisted putting in that work because there was a kind of an ego thing of just like, if I don't give my 100% and I fail, it's okay because I didn't put all my all into it.
There's still opportunity there.
Correct.
It's not my fault. It's like, I just didn't work hard.
Yeah, I just didn't work hard. So my ego, like, as soon as I don't get a role and they're like, sorry, you're too tall. I'm like, yes! I was like, not my fault. Literally, I can't change that. Thank you. They just released me.
Yeah.
But like, yeah. So One Voicers, new or old, just keep working at it, and I have to remind myself to do that.
Totally.
Make noise.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know, be the singer of your dreams. LaCroix.
Ooh, pamplemousse.
What?
Pamplemousse? Is that how you say it?
I don't know.
Grapefruit. It's the grapefruit flavor.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank God. I was
Sorry.
like, no, we're live.
I didn't know we're live. I should know these things. One moment while I Google.
While I call my sponsor. That was great. Spoken like a true one voicer.
Oh, yay.
That was the last question for the interview. Is there anything that you wanted to sneak in or that we didn't get to talk about? I think you did great.
Oh my goodness, I needed that. No, I've worked on myself.
Comment below and tell me how well he did.
I'm trying to think. Has there been any like common questions that pop up with One Voice? With students or online?
I mean, questions are normally like, how do I make this sound? Or, like, why don't you call it? A big one, Michael and I are doing a, one, I think it's next week, the 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Is that next week? I don't know. I don't know what day it is. But we're going to talk about why we don't use the words mix, head voice, chest voice, those things. And so that's a big one. I think people understand that we have our own language, but they don't fully understand why it's so important.
Yes. To know what's in reaction of another.
Exactly. And
so you're not pursuing a certain mixing of certain. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it because y'all are going to get into it and say it much better.
Yeah, and also,
I'm glad you said that.
Let me talk about that. Yeah, but those are the big questions. But I think be curious, like that's what they're doing by asking these questions. They're saying like, oh, there's an answer here. And
it was approached. One Voice was founded on with Maresca asking questions. Yeah. And being frustrated with where he was with his instrument and knowing that there's an opportunity for growth. Mm-hmm. So if it was founded in that, then its followers should do the same. Totally. And it was so lovely in voice lessons with him in college and then with you and with Jackson and the other One Voice coaches because y'all are open to learning on us and with us. Because there were certain, like it's so funny that like, my voice lessons can be so completely different than my classmate, whose voice I know very well. But like we have completely different experiences, but all fit within this practice. Oh, absolutely. And like I can fully go home and apply things because I actually know and can visualize what is happening. Yep. Which is so lovely. Yeah. Because that was my biggest frustration of leaving and not knowing what to do. Yeah, that's so interesting you say that. Natalie and I are both working on what baking can do from Waitress right now. Just like in our own like vocal practices. Yeah. And and I sang it with her and she gave me all this feedback. We were working on it. And then she went to sing it with Michael. And what we're both working on and the problem spots for us are totally different because what's built for each of us is totally different. Yeah. Like I am more comfortable with certain weights and coordinations and she's and vice versa. So it's just so fascinating. Cool. But we have the same information and we get to approach it from the way that's catered perfectly to us. And that's the other thing about One Voice I'm going off. Such as. Funny you mentioned that. You didn't. Thank you for asking. Is because of the language, it is catered to the person. 100%. It's no longer like you have to do this exercise for this amount of time. Correct. That's not helpful anymore. That's blown out of the water because what you have built is so different from what that guy has built. Totally. What if there was a guy over there? Oh my gosh, this whole time. Like, keep it down. Okay, let's rate it. We're almost done. Let's rate it. All right, I loved this. This was so much fun. Yay! The interview was great. Are you ready for the getting to know you? Getting to know? Sure. Oh, it's not. It's happening. That's a bop. It's kind of lit, as you could say. Lit. Okay, so you're not allowed to read the questions. So look away. Rules of the game. Answer as quickly and as honestly as you can. If you don't answer quickly enough, I'm moving on to the next question. Oh my goodness. Well, otherwise it's just like another interview. So fine. Gotta make it fun. Okay. I'm okay. What I'll say. Well, no, I'm not. Don't be. Okay. We have a bleep. For people who curse, we literally have a One Voice like bleep. And that's adorable. Hysterical, I know. Michael and I like
It just made us so happy.
Yeah,
And
that's
he
really
went and made them.
cool.
Yeah.
Of course.
What the? What? All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Causes that are important to you.
Helping our planet, equal rights.
Best compliment you've ever received.
That I'm really lovely and people come to me for a hug.
Aw, least favorite thing.
People that think they already have the answer to everything and are not open to learning something different than with their current circumstances are teaching them.
True One Voicer. When are you the most creative?
When I'm with my friends.
Aw, last piece of content you consumed that made you cry.
Ooh. Probably Brene Brown on Netflix.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That was so long ago.
I watched it again.
Oh, sweet. Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Who should people be following right now?
Me. Just kidding.
Nope, celebrities you admire.
Oh. I don't know. Priyanka Chopra.
Songs you can listen to on repeat.
Anything Sarah Bareilles. Just pleasant to listen to, and I don't have to worry about her.
What makes you smile the most?
Smile the most. Seeing dogs.
Last country you visited?
Spain.
If you could go to any concert,
That's
past or
Mexico.
present.
Well,
you could go to any concert, past or present, who would it be?
Aretha Franklin.
Ugh, your affirmation every day.
I never make bad. What is it? I never make bad decisions for myself.
Is that it?
Yeah, I forget how to say it, but it's like I only make good decisions for myself.
Ooh, I love that. Can you describe yourself in a hashtag?
Hashtag grateful.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about life right now?
Oh, 10.
You are stuck on a
I'm
deserted
sweating.
island, and you only have one book. What are you reading?
How to get off this island for dummies.
If your life was a musical, what would the marquee say?
Help.
What's one thing people don't know about you?
That I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. They know that, don't they?
Yeah. Who's your favorite Disney character?
Coco.
Oh, if you could star in any... I thought you were trying to say Coco Woman. I was like, that's not how you say it.
Literally.
If you could star in
She's
any
supposed to correct
movie,
me.
what would it be?
Star in any movie?
Mm-hmm.
That's already...
Any movie.
Whoa. First of all. Second of all, whoa.
3,
I don't have an
2.
answer.
What's your favorite time of day?
Favorite time of the day is like 1 p.m.
If you could travel the world with anyone, who would it be?
Oh, my parents.
Ugh, dream country to visit.
Dream country I want to visit?
Mm-hmm.
Greece.
Heels or flats?
Heels.
Vintage or new?
Vintage.
What industry do you see yourself working in? That's a dumb question.
Oh, well, music. Musical theater, yeah.
Style icon?
Zendaya. Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
What are the 3 things you can't live without?
Food, water, and human touch. Which is just a human thing. But I'm human.
You are, aren't you?
Well.
Oh my gosh, that tickled me. You were not good at that.
I wasn't. I'm sweating.
Yeah, I'm sweating too, actually, because I have to read the questions.
Really? That's so hard for you.
It honestly is. Speaking's hard. And that's all we have time for today. Gabe, this was so fun. I absolutely loved having that conversation. It went places I didn't know it would go, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for
having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. Next week, another One Voice Live, Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. CT. We will see you guys there. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.